The OG Final Fantasy VII has a billion minigames in it, and new hotness Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has a quad billion minigames. And I'll be honest, they're not all gems. So we're gonna examine all of them, and through this process determine what makes a good minigame. But first we gotta determine what even qualifies as a minigame, because for some of these side scenarios, I do not think I would call them minigames, I would call them diversions. Like there's one part where you break crates as Kate Sith, I would not call that a minigame. Chocobo digging while the funky music plays, that's not a minigame, that's diversion. So some key qualifiers I'll be using to denote a minigame are, it has to be repeatable at will, there's some type of reward based on your performance, and it's not just regular gameplay. But even then, a few of these don't quite meet every category, so we're gonna bend the rules a little bit, since I still think they're worth a mention. And since we're only talking about minigames, no major story spoilers, but there are side quest spoilers, if you want to call them that. And legally, I have to say that because they know I'm a turbo baller, Square Enix actually sent me this game for free, which is, well, really funny if you watch some of my videos. These ratings are based on my own experience, but one thing we gotta keep in mind is, as you all know, I'm pretty amazing at video games. So if a minigame took me multiple tries to beat it, shit, that's the game's fault, not mine. Game sucks ass. Real life is hard. If only I could escape my everyday troubles and become Mushroom. Today's video is brought to you in part by Isekai Slow Life, a simulation game on iOS and Android, where, after you get transformed into a mushroom, you live the slow life, the ideal life. This game's all about hanging out in a cozy village with your cozy homies. You can build up all sorts of shops like a cafe, yum yum, a nice farm, giddy up, a skate park, oh yeah, surfs up, a hot spring, hey, what's going on over there? And during your mushroom life, you'll be encountering all sorts of delightful individuals. Check out what's going on over here. Now this is the life for me, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyways, you can use my link in the description or the QR code on screen to download Isekai Slow Life, and I got y'all with an insider hookup, cause you can use code MUSHRUM to obtain 10 free wishes. Enjoy a slow life in Isekai. Piano Performance. This is technically the earliest minigame you have access to. You play a piano that's been mapped to the PS5 controller. Even if you don't know how to play the piano or any instrument at all, this virtual piano is very user-friendly. The minigame itself is pretty simple and straightforward. It has you playing really beautiful piano arrangements of some of those classic Final Fantasy VII songs. You travel the world finding more and more pianos, just like in Final Fantasy V, the best Final Fantasy. And you find more sheet music laying around that gradually scale up in difficulty. Red 13's theme song is pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. But it's not just a simple rhythm game. It's an entire piano that you can play. They really did not need to put this much effort into the piano minigame, but it has different octaves, different chords. I do not know why anyone would necessarily want to spend time getting amazing at this piano as opposed to just learning to play an actual piano, but you could feasibly play a lot of actual songs on this piano. One thing I like about it is you don't have to play perfectly to clear each song and get the rewards. You can miss a few notes and still get an A ranking. But if you do play it perfectly, the game still acknowledges your piano prowess. And towards the end of the game, there's a fun cat-related side quest in Nibelheim where a bunch of performers join Tifa in playing Tifa's old piano in Tifa's old room after finding Tifa's old cat, and they all play Aerith's theme? Even though Tifa's theme is another piano song in the game? Alright. After you get an A ranking on every song, Hot Joe Biden steps up to the keys and he's like, alright Jack, let me show you how it's done. And he plays the bonus hardest song, which is the Final Fantasy VII battle theme. Which reminds me of that one fight in Advent Children with Tifa in the church, y'all know the one, although it's not quite the same arrangement. But you do unlock the ability to have Aerith and Yuffie play the piano too. I think it would have been really funny if Red and Barrett could somehow play the piano too. Maybe the next game. Overall, it's fun, it's quick, it's simple to use while still being challenging, but not too bad. It has awesome exclusive music. They went above and beyond in making it. I'm giving piano an S tier. Queen's Blood. It's the card battle minigame. The other PS1 Final Fantasies had card games, you know, Final Fantasy VIII has Triple Triad, Final Fantasy IX has Tetramaster. So now, over 2 decades later, 7 has one too to complete the card triumvirate. In Rebirth, you travel the world, finding specific opponents located conveniently next to a playing card table and an umbrella stand for Cloud to rest his Buster Sword. And they are some of the most ridiculous characters in this game. Keep in mind, this is the Final Fantasy game with a party member who's a Scottish drone cat riding a chunky robot, so that's saying something. Too much direct contact with Queen's Blood has a negative effect on your psyche. It's like Twitter in that way. There's even Queen's Blood lore that you learn as you rank up about the game being made by the Shadow Queen or something. You can even play Queen's Blood against a fucking dog. And I'm not just talking about the part where you play against Red 13. I'm talking about a regular ass dog. Still crushed his ass though. My victory must be absolute. After assembling a deck of 15 cards, the very quick version of the rules of the game are, you play a card, and depending on that card's properties, you can claim territory to play more cards, play higher tier cards, power up ally cards, debuff or remove enemy cards, all sorts of wacky maneuvers. Each card also has a score value on it, and after no one can play any more cards, the scores on each lane are added up, but you only get the points if you win that lane, and the player with the highest score wins. It's kinda like Yu-Gi-Oh! Mixed with chess. There's a ton of depth and all sorts of strategies you can employ. You can rush out and try to claim territory first, you can focus on powering up your high level cards, you can make a deck that debuffs and destroys the opponent's cards. You can buy more and more cards as the story progresses, and there are so many cards that you functionally have unlimited options. You're also playing by Yu-Gi-Oh! Battle City rules, but only for the computer and not for you, because if you win, you get their best card for your own deck, but if you lose, there's no penalty. There are multiple tournaments throughout the game, including some in the main story that are optional, but if you lose a match, you can retry it as many times as you want until you win. It took me so long to win that cruise ship tournament against Regina. It was like an hour of resetting, but I did it. My victory must be absolute. The music is really good. Each time you start a match, a jazz band comes out of nowhere and starts grooving while you do card combat. It's like Sonic Unleashed in that way. Some people like Queen's Blood so much, they were saying that it should be its own game on mobile. I'm not really sure how well it would work in PvP, but for my ranking, I'm gonna give Queen's Blood an A tier. Out of respect for the Barry sax on the soundtrack, like an A+ tier, but I cannot in good conscience give it an S tier, because as much good stuff they put into it, as well as it's integrated into the game world, I do not actually enjoy playing Queen's Blood. You know, obviously the player is going to be smarter than the computer, but every match you play, they have access to some BS card that just wins the game for them, which is how most card games work. But you'll be thinking you're about to win with your 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons on the field, and then bam, they play Exodia, and then bam, Mind Crush. What the fuck? But it's more of a personal thing. I don't think it should be changed or anything. I personally just don't enjoy playing card games unless it's Uno, or there's beer involved, or someone's taking off their clothes. Ideally, all 3. I made it to Blood Knight 2nd class tier and decided, yeah, that was enough. But I will say, while I do not enjoy playing the matches, I do enjoy winning the matches. My victory must be absolute. But I can't give it the highest rank if I don't actually enjoy playing the game itself. So A+ tier for Queen's Blood, probably S tier on everyone else's ranking. Chocobo Wrangling. Initially, I didn't even include this one, since it's not repeatable and there's not a performance-based reward other than clearing it once gives you the Chocobo, but it's close enough. It's everyone's favorite gameplay gimmick. Say it with me, forced stealth in non-stealth games. In this one, you gotta sneak around some of the Chocobos and creep up to the special Chocobo in some of the regions like it's Metal Gear Chicken. It's not like bad or hard, but does anyone look forward to these sections? In 2 of the regions, they don't even make you do it. They just give you the Chocobo for free. And when that happened, I was relieved. So because I prefer to skip this diversion, I give it a D tier. Hustle Day Chocobo. This is more of a tutorial than an actual minigame, where right after you forcibly persuade your first Chocobo, Pico, to join you, you run 1 lap around the Chocobo Ranch, passing through zones within the timer. Chocobos don't handle super well at high speeds, so you gotta make sure not to bonk into the poles. You gotta work the pole, work your way around the pole. You'll likely be able to get the highest tier reward on your first or second try, but I do think that having a minigame serve as a quick little early game tutorial is a fun way to do it, so I give it a solid C tier. Moogle Mischief. Once in every region as part of World Intel, you find a mushroom with the most cursed-looking Moogles in Final Fantasy history. I think I remember seeing some players making the joke of like Tinder versus meeting in person. Anyways, your goal is to wrangle the Moogles back to their corral while dodging their tornadoes and AoE Zeta flares and tactical nukes they're launching at you. If you get hit 3 times, you gotta restart. Feels like you're running through a World War I no man's land sponsored by the Teletubbies. It's okay the first time, but then you realize you gotta do it like 5 more times. And while the minigame does add a few more mechanics like a timer and the ability to just grab some of the Moogles and carry them, it's not very fun to be honest. The Moogles often run in the complete opposite direction of where you're trying to herd them, and they'll attack you at point blank. In each region, it's definitely more of a, alright, let's just get this over with type of minigame. Only after you clear in each region you unlock the Moogle store, where you can trade in your Moogle medals for some pretty good Moogle rewards. And I think maybe you can get more Moogle medals from replaying this minigame, but you get plenty of Moogle medals from other places like the crates on every Ubisoft tower in this game, so there's no reason to ever replay it. The game isn't particularly fun, and you have to play it 6 times. Moogles are some of the most beloved species in Final Fantasy, and in this game they look like sick freaks, F tier. Also, after you clear all of them, Cloud is transformed into a Moogle in a very disturbing cutscene. Remember Mog from the best Final Fantasy VI? Remember how cool Mog was? Anyways, Jumpfrog! You unlock this one in a Froggy side quest. There are 2 versions of this minigames, and they're both literally minigames from Fall Guys. In one of them, you jump over the big rotating clock hands, but you can't make any contact with the hands at all, or else you'll be launched into a toady grave. In the other one, it's a big cylinder and it gradually falls away. It's a fun little distraction and the music is fun ribbit rhythms. B tier. Dolphin Show. You ride the dolphin while music from the dolphin genre plays. This is like the one dolphin who's not an asshole. Most dolphins are assholes. Anyways, it's initially part of the main story, but you can come back later and do it more times. You launch off of ramps and hoops, and you speed up as you clench more and more balls. It's like Wave Race, so I think you could ride a dolphin in that game. Although you're not racing anyone here. So maybe it's more like Wii Sports Resort Power Cruising. Remember Wii Sports Resort Power Cruising? It's like that. While it takes some time getting used to drifting on a dolphin, it's pretty fun overall. I like it. B tier. Fort Condor. This is like a real-time strategy game where your characters get transported to the board game dimension to lead an assault on the enemy commander. This one is also in Intergrade Intermission, and I think it's slightly different there, but I have not played the Yuffie quest yet. In the Rebirth version, I love how your characters are in the style of the original PlayStation 1 blocky field models. At first, Fort Condor was kinda challenging, but then I realized I was vastly overthinking it. I can plug up the hole in the right with a shield unit and support them with a healer, and then flank with fighters and support them with range on the left side. No! I was thinking with my Fire Emblem brain when I should have been thinking with my Fire Emblem brain. Specifically, the weapon triangle. Fort Condor on normal mode is literally rock, paper, scissors. Blue beats red beats green beats blue. That's how you should deploy your squad. Unfortunately, you don't command your units directly, you just deploy them and they go. And sometimes they go for the wrong dude, which is kind of annoying. You're ruining my flawless strategy, generic soldier number 7. I think this minigame is one of the more polarizing ones. You either like Fort Condor or you fucking hate Fort Condor. For me, I thought it was pretty fun. Y'all know me, I love strategy games, and Fort Condor kinda reminded me of Unicorn Overlord, which came out 1 week after this game. Whoopsies! But we all gotta admit that new Fort Condor is a huge improvement over the original PlayStation 1 Fort Condor, where the easiest way to beat Fort Condor was to not play Fort Condor and let the enemies reach your base where you have your party fight them off and win. That's not an option here. But you can deploy 2 of your party members as a jacked unit, where they do a big special move. The only thing I don't like about it is how I don't think you can replay the game on normal mode, only on hard mode, which is annoying when you're trying to get footage of the game, but luckily for me I have a big brain and beat it no problem. The second time. But overall, for the aesthetic and the strategy, I give Fort Condor a B tier. Junon Parade. This barely counts as a minigame since you can't repeat it until after you beat the entire game and go through chapter select, but I think it's worth a mention. In this one, the party has snuck into a military parade and Cloud was accidentally made the parade captain by Emperor Edelgard von Hresfelg, and during the parade you hit the button prompts when they appear on screen and the glowing ball lines up with them. But sometimes they appear in weird spots in the corner of the screen, so it's hard to get a perfect score on your first try. The most fun part for me was exploring the iconic city of Junon in 3D and going around recruiting all the different battalions. Look at this, it's like I'm playing Pikmin out here. For the actual parade itself, well, good luck if you want to get the achievement on your first try. I wish I could practice once before going through all the difficult formations, but the practice option only has you redo the tutorial in the middle of the street. And this is an eyeball issue on my part, but I'm not a fan when the square button appears diagonal and looks like the triangle button, so you hit the wrong button. I feel like all these buttons should have been color coded or something. But for when you do mess up, I did enjoy the live news commentary when they're like, man, the Midgar 7th Infantry sure is blowing it. Let's see if these incompetent dumbasses can turn it around. But it does go on for a little bit too long, since it's 3 formations. And the problem that these sort of quick time event sequences encounter, it happened in the Honeybee In Dance in Remake, it happens in the Loveless play later on too, is that I can't actually enjoy any of the choreography going on in the background because I'm so hyper focused on scanning the screen for the button prompts, especially because they keep appearing in all different spots all over the screen. While playing it, the whole time I'm thinking, oh boy, I can't wait to watch this on YouTube later so I can see what it actually looks like. But having spent a decade of my own life in marching band, I'm super biased in favor of it. The music is really good, the choreography looks good when you can watch it. Even if you fail, the story continues, you just miss out on an achievement, and the 7th Infantry are real ones, so B tier. I couldn't find the original tweet, but I saw someone say that in the next remake game, the 7th Infantry members should be your crew of your airship, the Highwind. Absolutely yes, Square Enix should make that happen. Pirates Rampage! This is a point and shoot minigame you'd see at a state fair. That's about it. I do like how the targets are classic Final Fantasy enemies, however the controls are a little bit stiff for a game where you need to precisely aim at such small targets. And if you want a high score, you have to memorize when and where the high value targets pop up. I feel like a bullet time mechanic for precise aiming would improve this, like how the game slows down when you're selecting commands in battle. Also, my first time playing, I did not realize that the game rates you on accuracy and lowers your score if you miss too much, so I was just holding the trigger the entire time and shooting everything and missing everything. Overall, it's not terrible, but I did not enjoy it either, and the game has you play it more than once. D tier. Run Wild. This game is 4-way Rocket League. You play as 13 Red and kick the big balls in. Red 13 is not the most fluid 4-legged friend to control, and it's tough to aim the balls. And 2 of the other teams are teams, but you're just Red 13. But the enemy AI isn't that smart or aggressive, so it's not that bad. The game does warn you when it's like, the other team is going to actually start trying now, and that's your signal to play defense. And otherwise, just kick the balls. There's another time trial variation where it's only Red 13 and a bunch of balls, and he has to kick the right balls in the right holes in the right order. Halfway through, the Ballards appear, the sworn enemies of Ford F-150s, and you've got to juke them out. Have fun trying to kick the balls in the right direction. While both versions are kind of simple and sauceless and boring and easy, then again, how challenging should the soccer minigame be in the 70-hour JRPG, you know? More on this later, so I'll give it a C tier. It's so funny how the game is like, my name's actually Nanaki, Red 13 is my slave name. And then the party is like, cool, we'll keep calling you Red 13. There are also a couple of one-off date activities in Costa del Sol, Cactuar Caper, Wheelie Rendezvous. Those are not minigames, those are diversions. Card Carnival, that's just one turn of Queen's Blood. And Royal Concert, that's just a piano minigame, we've already covered those. Crunch Off. Tifa does crunches. It's similar to the squat and pull-up minigames from Remake, and in this one, you hit the triggers in time, and you gradually get faster and faster and enter a zen-like flow state. Head empty, ultra instinct trigger tapping as your soul transcends into the abdominal dimension and you approach ab enlightenment. But then the game goes, whoa, 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 you get a little bit too transcendent over there. So the game knocks you back down to Super Saiyan 1 just to make sure you're paying attention. The whole thing is kind of like a rhythm game, except the tempo is going accelerando. My 100 plus hours of Ring Fit Adventure should tell y'all that I'm something of an ab cruncher myself. So I found this one to be not too bad, but apparently everyone else hates it or found it really hard. I don't know, man. You just hit the triggers. It's not complicated. Well, to be fair, your highest level bout against Jules was a little bit challenging, but just don't make a single mistake and you'll beat it. On its own merits, I'd give it a C tier, but any minigame where you get to see Tifa demonstrate the majesty of her abs is at least worthy of a B tier. Minecart Adventure. Nope, Minecart Adventure. This one is definitely not a minigame and is only a diversion, since I don't think it's repeatable, but I ain't walking all the way back to Mount Coral to find out, but I'll include it since I enjoyed it. It's a fun roller coaster ride where you get to ride in a minecart and shoot boxes with Barrett and Yuffie. It's like a train game. You all know I love trains, B tier. There's a similar section a little later on where you're on the back of a buggy gunning down your government pursuers like you got 4 stars in GTA. Again, that's another diversion, but I'm including that one with this one so it also gets a B tier. Now we got all the Golden Saucer minigames. Galactic Saviors. You know Star Fox? This is Wish.com brand Star Fox. It's a spaceship rail shooter while Iron Man cheers you on, and you can do combos if you blow up multiple ships at once. While I do like the aesthetic of the minigame, obviously, it's space. Gameplay wise, it's a little lacking in the game feel department. It just feels kind of bland and vanilla, and I can never remember if it's called Galactic Saviors or Galactic Survivors, which should tell you how much of an impression it left on me. You can easily get the highest tier reward on your first or second try. However, on Expert, it costs energy to do a barrel roll, so it's more challenging, but is it more fun? Overall, as a one-off Dave and Buster's type minigame you play while on a date with Tifa Lockhart, it's totally fine. C tier. G-Bike. This is a new version of that one sequence from Remake, although here it's much more gamified since it's an arcade game. I think it's funny how the theme park made a VR game about the time Shinra got completely dunked on by Cloud and the gang a few weeks ago. The controls felt smoother and more responsive than before. You can drive on walls like it's F-Zero, and the enemies go down a lot faster. That one-hit kill really improves the pacing. You collect tokens and boost and drift, and on hard difficulty, there's a helicopter attacking you the entire time like you got 5 stars in GTA. And also, it's a cool minigame. Using a big sword and doing spin moves on a motorcycle is cool. Final Fantasy VII used to be cool. Now it's like Disney World. And Disney World ain't bad, but it's definitely different. Anyways, G-Bike is quick and it's cool. Fuck it, it's my tier list. I'm giving G-Bike an A tier. Chocobo Races. It's Kentucky Fried Mario Kart. First, you pick your course. There are at least 18 courses to choose from, but you gotta be a dope enough rider to unlock the harder courses. Next, you gotta pick your bird. They're the same birds you've been unlocking through the main game, so as you progress through the story, you unlock more options, and each one has a different speed, acceleration, weight, cornering, strength, and intelligence. No idea what that last stands for. And they have their own special bird ability. Then, just like how in modern Mario Kart you pick your cart, wheels, and glider, in bird racing, you got your hat, shirt, and shoes, and each one further affects your bird stats, and they have their own special passive ability. There's a ton of depth in the game without it feeling overwhelming, which I think is a key quality for a user-friendly racing minigame, especially a racing minigame within a 70+ hour RPG. Additionally, I like how the exploration in the overworld, specifically restoring all the chocobo stops, petting the cute little baby birds, and collecting the golden plumes, loops back into the minigame for unlocking more equipment options for your birds. My hungry ass could not be a chocobo breeder. The races themselves are pretty quick and pretty fun. The course aesthetic looks like, well, Mario Kart, and I like how on many of the courses you can glide over large swaths of the track for a shortcut. And because this is a Japanese racing game, you already know the chocobos can drift and do mini turbos, which is really funny. There's a ton of unique songs that I'm pretty sure are exclusive to Chocobo Racing, and the victory song is some of that Japanese fusion-inspired Mario Kart style music. A big band ensemble, super saxophone, it's very fitting. Chocobo Racing is really well done and a lot of fun. I win every time and I love winning. S tier. You'd think they would make Chocobo Racing into its own game. Oh no! 3D Brawler. It's a boxing minigame, which is what I would like to say, but no, it's much worse. You can't actually attack when you want to. The CPU does a couple strings of attacks that you have to block and dodge by pushing one of the control sticks in the correct direction, and then after multiple attacks they'll signal, "Now you can hit me!" And that's the only time you can do the wimpiest punch of all time. After landing 5 punches, or after they land 5 punches on you, they'll use a limit break attack and the match ends. It's absolutely miserable to play. The ass factor is that you have to enter different directions to dodge specific move types. Up to dodge overhead, side to dodge hooks, and down to dodge uppercuts. The problem is with these purposely polygonal player models is that it's hard to tell what move they're about to use, and the timing window involving recognizing what move it is, then hitting the correct direction is pretty tight, and it's just not fun. Dodge 7 punches, then you can do 1 attack? It's stupid! Wii Sports Boxing was more dynamic than this. After several dozen retries, I beat all 5 regular rounds, 6 if you include the fight against Yuffie, and was wondering how you fight Sephiroth in 3D Brawler since there's an achievement for it. I googled how to do it, and apparently you need to do every single side quest in the game first. I ain't doing all that. And during my search is when I learned about pause buffering, where you can pause the game at the start of their attack and examine which move they're about to use. I wish I had known about this earlier. The minigame is not fun, it's very easy to cheat, and in fact, if you do not want to spend 20 minutes retrying the later fights like I had to, you're incentivized to cheat. F tier. I never want to play this one again. Musclehead Colosseum. Does this really count as a minigame? Because this is just regular gameplay. Other than those 2 fights where you fight as only frogs, which is funny at first, but not particularly fun, especially not after 5 rounds. In the Colosseum, you just do some fights, that's the whole thing. But in the original FF7, each round the slot would roll and stack another challenge or debuff on you, and you'd see how far you can go with all these disadvantages and try to win all 8 rounds. In this new one, the only difference between this and regular combat is that you can't use items, like in the combat simulator. There are some where you make 1 team of 2, and others where you make 2 teams of 3. It's nice that you're given more opportunities to use party setups that don't include Cloud, since you don't get many chances to do that outside of a handful of story segments and in the combat sim. While I did not do all of the fights, it's cool that you do unlock more in the post game, and at the end of the day, it's more combat, and more reason to show off why Tifa Lockhart needs to be in Tekken. She plays like they took a Tekken character out of Tekken and put her into Final Fantasy. Look at her go, she's pulling off infinite air combos like she's, I don't know, Iceman in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. While it's not that creative, especially when compared to the original version of this section, this game has good combat, and this is more of that, C tier. I'm including the other Colosseum in here too, because it's basically the same thing, except for that one side quest where you have to do 5 one-on-one fights, except 3 of them are not one-on-one, including the one where we have to play as Solo Aerith? She's the support unit? This fight was miserable? This one fight gets a D tier. Desert Rush, which is the box breaking minigame. This is another repeat from Remake, although the map is different and I think there's a few extra mechanics. To be honest, I barely remember the Remake version. You play as Thunder Struggle and use his sword to break boxes. It reminds me of those rage rooms where you show up and pay money and break shit, and the Screamo music here reinforces that. There are time boxes that extend your time, and battery boxes you need to break first before breaking the voltage boxes. I'm surprised Cloud's metal sword does not give him an electric shock, but just kidding, that's an actual mechanic in the hard mode. This minigame is basically trial and error until you memorize the order of which boxes to break when and what route to take, but overall, it's fine. C tier. Cactuar Crush. This might be my least favorite one. First of all, I've been playing Final Fantasy for over half my life, and I've been saying Cactuar this whole time. Only for this game to say it's pronounced Cactuar. That's already a red flag. It's another minigame part of the Proto-Relic quest chain, but where in the other Proto-Relic quest, you show up to the location and do a thing, like show up and play for Condor. In this one, you show up to a cactus, and you get a little cactus, have to stop and hold it and follow the light like it's Shadow of the Colossus. But sometimes sometimes it points at a cliff, so you gotta go around and look for the yellow paint to climb. And look, one of 2024's dumbest discourses so far was debating the yellow paint in games, and I am a yellow paint defender because I have real problems in my life to worry about. I do not need to make up fake problems like complaining about how being able to see where you are going in a video game is a bad thing actually. Also, you can see the yellow paint from a distance and think, oh cool, I can climb there. Alright, I'm getting off track, just like this stupid ass quest. Anyways, you arrive at the second cactus, you fight some Cactuar there, who aren't difficult enemies, but they do sometimes like to cheat and go, fuck you, 10,000 needles, redo the battle. And then you get a scene where the characters do the Cactuar pose, which is silly and fun the first time, but it's essentially the same joke 4 times. But then you go back to the first cactus, and after all that, then you can play the minigame once, then redo that whole process 3 more times, and then fight a boss against some random ass goblin kid, and then you finish 1 chunk out of 6 for the part of like quest chain that ends in something you can't even do until the post game anyways. So anyways, the minigame itself. There are 2 challenges with Yuffie and 2 with Aerith, because they forgot to give Aerith minigames, where you fight a bunch of low-level Cactuar as fast as you can, but with a twist. There are magic Cactuar you only damage with magic, and physical Cactuar you only damage with physical, and rainbow ones that extend your time. In Aerith's version, you need to cast a light rune to fight the light Cactuars, and dark rune to fight the dark Cactuars. Look, I would not call myself an expert at Rebirth's battle system. However, I was able to finish the main story with little to no trouble, but I will say that the combat is at its best when you have a full party of 3, not 1 solo character. Cactuar Crush is like regular combat, but worse because it's solo, and even worse because it's a mess. The Cactuars make this really annoying high-pitched sound. The Final Fantasies I've played the most didn't have voice acting, alright? You're fighting like 10 of them at once, so it's hard to tell when one of them is actually attacking you, and then they throw out these little bombs you have to constantly dodge. If you get hit, you lose points and are stunned for so long. And when there's a mixed group of both magical and physical, and targeting is done with the right stick, good luck trying to target the correct one. All the damage numbers, particle effects, weaknesses, there's so much shit on screen, there's so much noise! What is this? Fucking Xenoblade! As Yuffie, I used Windstorm for quick AoE damage against the magic cactuses, and Doppelganger for more DPS, I assume? But it took me several tries to get the bottom reward of Yuffie's second round of Crush, which is weird, because in regular combat, I play as Yuffie all the time. She's a fun character to use, but this minigame took all the fun out of it. Aerith's Crush I didn't think was as bad, but fighting solo as the slow casting support unit? After I beat the game, I've seen some videos online of Aerith with game-breaking combos and stuff, and I'm sure the same is true with Yuffie, but also I do not know those combos. I'm playing the game normally, but from what I've seen and heard, most other players were flipped, where the Yuffie ones were fine for them, but the Aerith ones sucked? How about we compromise and say the whole minigame sucks? All this being said, when I went in to get footage of both versions, I did not have much trouble clearing it on normal, so maybe it's not as bad as I remember, or maybe I just got good at it because I had to retry it so many times. But the thing I remember the most about Cactuar Crush was my growing level of frustration at playing it over and over and over. It's not creative, it's loud, it's annoying, it's frustrating, it takes the fun out of the combat from the game with otherwise fun combat, and also Don Corneo, this game's worst character, shows up during the quest and you are not allowed to kill him. It would be an F tier, but the music is funny, so maybe D tier, but it's the same song from Box Breaker, so F tier. Fuck this game. Glide Day Chocobo. You jump off of a platform and glide through the rings. Even though all Chocobo have wings, the green Chocobos are the only type of Chocobo that are brave enough to jump off a cliff, apparently. This one should be more fun than it is, but the gliding is really slow, the detection boxes on the rings are too assholey, and the controls are too imprecise, especially when you're trying to swoop down and back up. Sometimes it does it, and sometimes it does not do it, and you have to restart the whole minigame. This was one of those minigames that took me several tries to beat, and the highest points and interesting ring layouts are very backloaded, so if you mess up midway through and retry, you have to very slowly glide through the easy 100 point sections over and over until you finally reach the part where you messed up on earlier. If the gliding was maybe 10 to 20% faster, this minigame would be a lot more fun. It's just really boring and a little frustrating. D tier. you're also playing as Yuffie again. I don't know why Yuffie's minigames are the least fun. It's not because you're playing as Yuffie, but it's weird that it's happened 3 times now. Gears and Gambits, another part of the Proto-Relic side quest chain. This is another real-time strategy minigame that is similar to Fort Condor, but definitely not as good as Fort Condor. In this one, you have 3 bases that are portals that deploy robots known as Robo-Chads, even though they look like little Wallies, to take out a big slime dude in the middle who's splurging out little slime dudes of its own. You can program in Gambits for each element of robots in advance for how they act under certain conditions. In that sense, it kind of reminds me of Unicorn Overlord, available now on all major consoles. There's a 7-hour long free demo. I platinumed it and it's pretty alright. However, the UI in Gears of Gambits is a little too complicated, not very user friendly, and how am I supposed to know which strategies work when I ain't even played the game yet? I look at all of these options and I just go, no. But there is also auto program. I just hit the refresh button a couple of times and decided, yeah, that probably sounds good, fuck it. This is an example of the systems are too complicated to the point where I do not want to do it at all. There are 16 pages of tutorials for a minigame that lasts 3 minutes? That's too much! And what's worse, on normal mode, you really don't have to take advantage of any of the options. Once again, do not overthink it. Just spam low-cost robots in whatever the open lane is, and again follow the rock, paper, scissors pattern to protect your portals. It's not terrible, and not that it's the minigame's fault, but bro, it's the 5th region, and Cosmo Canyon isn't the easiest to navigate. So by the time I finally arrive at each Proto-Relic spot, I'm just tired and want to get it over with. And each time you beat a station, you get a flashback of the Avalanche crew, and while they're good, they're completely unrelated to the minigame itself. It very much feels like they didn't know where to put them, so they shoved them in here. It's not particularly fun, overcomplicated, too similar to another better minigame, and not very aesthetically creative. D tier because at least the music is alright. Loveless play. Again, is this even a minigame or just a diversion? Well, there was a lot of effort put into this section, so I'll include it. After watching the opening of the play that might as well be gibberish, Final Fantasy VI opera scene, this is not. The actual minigame portion starts. It's like a VR play where your characters act in the play itself. And it's similar to the parade where you press the buttons on screen. I do like this one more than the parade because it's not just constant quick time events, I can actually enjoy some of it. I love Cloud's voice actor acting as Cloud in the play because Cloud the character isn't a very good actor, so the VA is purposely acting bad in the play. It's really funny and a nice attention to detail. There's lots of alternate funny options you can pick during the play, and depending on who you're with for the date, you'll get different scenes. I recommend checking them out on YouTube. Speaking of, the action scenes again fall into the trap of, I can't wait to watch this online later. My first time playing this section, I was streaming it to Vasco Games over Discord and he was like, wow, this looks amazing. And I was like, yeah, I wish I could see it instead of focusing on the button prompt so hard I can't even blink. However, there are significantly fewer button prompts compared to the parade, so you can actually enjoy some of the visual spectacle happening. And the buttons appear on screen in spots relative to where they appear on the PS5 controller. You know, circle on the right, square on the left, etc., making it more user-friendly. Although I'm still not sure what this play is even about, it's still kind of enjoyable. Plus everyone wears the type of outfit you might see in like a high fantasy RPG. I give it an A tier. Here's my final list that I'm sure is very different from everyone else's tier list. Individual tiers are ordered-ish, but don't stress too much about it. I sure didn't. And now that we've looked at over 20 flippin' minigames and activities, we can finally answer the question, what makes a good minigame? Well, it's everyone's favorite answer, it depends. Let's look at it this way, intrinsic versus extrinsic. Intrinsic, I play the minigame because the minigame is fun. Extrinsic, I play the minigame because I get a cool item for doing well enough. Ideally, minigames are able to cover both. Looking at intrinsic, how do you make the game fun? I mean, for one, the controls gotta work, which is something I've mentioned for multiple of these minigames. If I'm constantly fighting the controls while playing, then I'm not gonna enjoy the game very much, now am I? And then there's scope. From a project management perspective, game design, especially with large teams, is much more complicated than put X dollars into this bucket and Y dollars into that bucket. But at the same time, how many resources do you invest in a quick little minigame that's 1% of the game, as opposed to the core gameplay experience that's over 90% of the game? Well, again, it depends. A key aspect is length and depth, and Girth. How many mechanics should a minigame have? Once again, it depends. But I'd say somewhere in the green zone of approachability on this graph. Enough stuff to make it a video game, to make it engaging for the player, but not so overtuned that I don't even want to play it. Gears and Gambits overwhelming the player with over a dozen pages of mechanics and options? That's too much. Or perhaps, hidden depth is the key. In Queen's Blood, it's pretty simple for an amateur to get into it, but gradually reveals the depths of its mechanics for those who get really into it, by introducing a wider variety of card abilities and CPU strategies. This is good. Chocobo Racing. You can pick your favorite color bird, and pick your favorite outfit based on drip factor, and run around the track and have fun if you want, but you can also customize and optimize your bird's loadout to craft the highest performance bird if that's more of what drives you. Or have an optional hard mode after you beat the primary challenge. Many of the minigames in Rebirth have hard modes, which is great. Extrinsic. For a minigame, I think the rewards should be good, but not feeling essential. Worth my time, feeds into the main game, a good optional accessory, but not the best items in the game. Or maybe like a rare, valuable resource, but you can get it elsewhere too. Or maybe just a lot of in-game money and the player chooses what to spend it on. That works too. I do not think the absolute best, most powerful items in the game should be tied behind some dumbass minigame that has nothing to do with the core gameplay. Isn't that right, Final Fantasy X? Should a minigame be entirely skippable? If I sign up for the JRPG combat and exploration, if I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the plot, why do I gotta do this stupid ass soccer minigame before I can progress? Should I be able to completely skip these sections when they pop up in the main story? Well, instead, I'd say a minigame should not overstay its welcome, especially not when it's in the critical path in the main story. While they do dip their toes into other gameplay genres, all of these minigames were made with the intent to entertain the player and prevent the core loop from getting too stale. For many of these minigames in Rebirth, you do it once in the main story and can come back later and do it more if you enjoyed it. There's a Queen's Blood tournament within the main story, but you can skip it immediately if you want or if you're doing a speed run. Something I really like about Rebirth is that many of the minigames are within side quests. So many modern RPG side quests are like, fast travel to this town, talk to this person, kill 5 wolves, collect 7 mushrooms. It's busy work. But in Remake, these side quests lead you to unique gameplay experiences that are outside of the normal gameplay loop, such as a minigame, or an escort the dog mission while dog folk music plays. 3 of the minigames are exclusive to the Proto-Relic side quest chain, which is completely separate from the main story. In addition, all of these side quests in Rebirth are tied to a specific party member, which helps to further develop them and deepen Cloud's relationship with them, which I really like. For example, the Crunch Off minigame is tied to a Tifa side quest. In the gym, they talk about how Tifa is world famous, especially in Italy, and her notorious abs inspired more people to join the gym. She even gets an abs disciple. Now, my biggest problem with some of Rebirth's minigames is that they feel so sauceless, which isn't really a question of complexity, but game feel. I'm reminded of the Yakuza minigames where the characters are all excited at victory and at the little car racing minigame expressing so much emotion, more screen shake, more particle effects, more explosions! Assuming that the third and hopefully final remake game will reuse a lot of the game world, Final Fantasy VII Reunion? Nope, that one's taken. Final Fantasy VII Rebuild 3.0 plus 1.0, Final Fantasy VII Final Fantasy VII Revengeance. A lot of the game world will probably be reused and the same minigames will be available. So hopefully, the development team will take some time to iterate and improve on the existing minigame foundations, while still making some new ones that were in the original, like the snowboard minigame, the escape your execution minigame, the slap the blush off Scarlet's cheeks minigame. The couple of returning minigames from the first remake game were all improved, so if they improve on the foundation they have here, the third game could have the greatest minigames. Make Run Wild more like Rocket League. Make Galactic Survivors more like Star Fox. Add holograms to Queen's Blood and I'll bump it up to S tier. Or maybe they'll cut out every minigame and replace it with a Chow Garden. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, then you may enjoy, I don't know, any of my videos. They're all bangers. Comment below with how you felt about Rebirth's minigames and where you would place them on the list. And today's comment code word is cactus. Comment cactus if you made it all the way through the video, and that's it, video's over.